This week on the Media Boss Podcast.
So many entrepreneurs learn from their failures, but perhaps don't want to talk about them because of shame or embarrassment and, only wanting to talk about their success. And yet we learn from our mistakes and failures.
Media Boss Podcast is brought to you by two of our new partners. One is Pantheon. I can't wait to tell you about them later. And brought to you by Convert and Flow. You're going to learn so much about them. But now it's time for the Media Boss Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Media Boss Podcast. I am Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I am elated to have you here today. Guess what, guys? You probably guessed it already. I have a great show and a great guest. I can't help it, guys. They just keep coming. These people are wonderful, and I'm so grateful to have them on the Media Boss Podcast. If this is your first time listening to the Media Boss Podcast, I want to welcome you, but I want to tell you what we're about. See, understand this. Your clients, if you're a speaker, a coach, entrepreneur, whatever you are, an author, everything, all your clients consume their information from some form of media or another. It could be books, it could be television, it could be podcasting, it could be film, it could be social media. The thing is, if you're only focused on one of those areas, you're missing a boatload of clients because there are people out there that want to pay you, but they don't see you because you're not in front of them. What we want to do is make you a media boss where your media is everywhere so that people can find you and you don't have to go searching for them. That is what this podcast is for. Now, what I want you to do is make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're sharing this with everyone, make sure everyone knows that you are watching or listening to the Media Boss Podcast. Now, I like to start off every episode with something I call the Media Minute. And what is the Media Minute? The Media Minute is where I take a second to just share with you something, some news, a tip, some advice, something about media that I think that you should know. Now, today, I want to stick with something that I learned about Facebook. And on Facebook, I want to make sure that you understand that boosting your post on Facebook is great, but it's better if you actually take the time and spend some money. That's right. Spend some money on ads. If you're going to promote your business through there, boosting it is fine, but you're really not going to get the market that you want, the audience that you're trying to capture, unless you actually run some ads. And yes, you may have to learn some things. I know that's daunting for a lot of people. And yes, you may have to hire someone to show you what to do. But it's worth it instead of just trying to do the cheap approach to get things done. So that is the Media Minute for today. Now, I have an excellent guest today. I have a lady by the name of Barbara Boyd. Now, I'm jealous of Barbara already because she lives in Italy, but I want to tell you something. She is an expert in nonfiction and memoirs. Let me tell you something. If you're going to be in business right now, it is best that you get a book out there. I'm just telling you, Barbara Boyd is the person you need to talk to because she's collaborated on over 200 books. That's right, over 200 books. And she's done it in a lot of different ways. I'm talking ghostwriting, I'm talking coach, I'm talking development editor, all of these different things. So she is the person to help you. If you figure, I don't know what to do about writing a book, well, you need to be, first of all, listening to the Media Boss Podcast so you can listen to Barbara Boyd. So without any further ado, let me just bring to the microphone on the Media Boss Podcast none other than Barbara Boyd. Barbara, welcome to the Media Boss Podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here today.
Oh, I'm excited to have you here. Like I said, I've written books before, but I am nowhere near the expert that you are. 200 books. First of all, when did you first have this love for literary work?
Oh my goodness, that started very early. Probably, as soon as I could hold a book in my hand. How old would I have been? 3, 4, 5?
Okay. Okay.
It was early. It was definitely early. I was an early reader. I just today listened to a podcast about Sesame Street, and I think that influenced me a lot. I was an early Sesame Street watcher, and so books have always had a big, big place in my life.
So what made you want to become a book coach?
I kind of stumbled into this work.
Really?
Yes. So I I always loved the idea of publishing and writing. And I thought I would be a freelance writer or work for a magazine. And I did work for a technology magazine for a while. Uh-huh. And that led to contacts that led me into writing for dummies books and on technology. So, and in those situations, one contact led to another, and I found myself often with co-writers or collaborators. Yeah. And they were often the material experts, but I was the publishing expert. I was the editorial expert. And in those situations, essentially what I was doing is what book coaching is today. Okay. And it goes beyond editing. Editing is part of what a book coach does. But a book coach is also your cheerleader, somebody who believes in your idea and your book as much as you do, and can help you clarify that idea, can help you reach your market. So as you mentioned, for someone who has a service or a product, a business that they want to promote and let the world know about, writing a book that demonstrates their expertise is an excellent way to do that.
Yeah, and I remember hearing Miles Monroe, the late, great Miles Monroe, he said that everybody has a book in them. And it's something that I never forgot that. Everybody has a book in them, but so many of us won't get it out. Now, let me ask you, do you help people as far as, because I'm sure you run into people that say they have a story, but it's something that's troubling and it's hard for them to get out. Do you help them in pulling that out?
I do. That happens a lot in memoir, or it happens also in people who have been in business and perhaps struggled. So many entrepreneurs learn from their failures, but perhaps don't want to talk about them because of shame or embarrassment and, only wanting to talk about their success. And yet we learn from our mistakes and failures. So often what happens in writing a book, in the first pass of a draft or even planning that draft, is talking about what happened. That next pass is really going deeper and thinking about, well, what did that event mean? How did I change? What was the transformation that happened from those events? And it's in that transformation that readers learn from your story.
Oh, wow. I like that, because if you can pull that out of someone, I remember a friend of mine, Dr. Ruben West. He's a speaker coach, and one of the things he always tells people, and you know this, when people get on stage and they have a troubling story and they start crying in the middle of the story, and he says, "You don't own your story yet. Your story still owns you." He said that you have to keep telling it, but you have to keep telling it until you can go through it without breaking down, because if you don't finish it, people really don't get the point. So the same thing, I guess, applies when writing. You have to be able to, and I think it's real cathartic to get that out of your system, especially get it written down, because I'm sure that's probably even better than speaking it sometimes.
I think so. And with writing it down, I talk to clients about, why they want to write their book. Okay. What do they hope to accomplish personally, but also how do they hope to influence their audience, and who is that audience? And some people just need to get it out. Yeah. Maybe and I always tell them, I need to know the details to help you choose what goes in the book. But just saying it or talking about it doesn't mean that it has to show up in the book. But that experience can inform the words on the page in terms of how you were feeling, the impact that situation had for you. Now, there are people, as you say, writing can be very cathartic, who may write their story and never share it with anyone. It's very much just that they needed to get it out there.
I get it.
I see that less with my clients, because usually they do have a very specific reason why they want to reach their audience. But there are situations where, especially if someone has had a serious trauma and perhaps writing a memoir about it would have an impact on their family, their children, their parents, whatever, or whoever that might be. Yeah. They may just need to go through that process of writing it and keep it for themselves to sort it out.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point, because I know there are some people who been through some trauma and they just want to just write it down, kind of almost like journaling sometimes, and they just Yeah, they just want to get it out. That's a great point. So as far as business people and writing books, have you found that helping some of these business people write books, that has actually helped their business?
Definitely. Having a book puts you in a position of being seen as an expert in your field. It adds credibility. Mm-hmm. It's a long form that lets people get to know you. Yeah. And especially with the advent of audiobooks, I think books can be easier because people will say, well, I don't have time to read, or my clients don't have time to read. But they could listen to an audiobook. And if the book is compelling, people find the time to read it.
Yeah.
So sometimes that might be an excuse to not write a book. But I do think it's a great opportunity to fully display the knowledge that you have. The flip side of that, of course, is that most experts have a gazillion ideas and they're not sure which one to begin with. And that's where a book coach can be very helpful.
This is so true. You're speaking to me. But so now, okay, a lot of the people, especially in business, like you said, they can come up with some excuses. What excuses did you run into from people as far as not putting their stuff out there?
They're the same things that people say about any sort of putting yourself out there. Nobody cares what I have to say. Mm-hmm. Who am I to say that I'm the expert in this?
Ooh.
I don't know how to write. It's all been said. They're all of the excuses that stop people from doing anything. Wow. It's pushing through that and believing, no, each of us has a unique way of saying what we have to say. It may be very similar to what someone else has said, mm-hmm. but it's that unique way. And I use the example of parents trying to tell their children something. Yeah. You give your child advice and they're like, oh, you don't know anything. And a few days later, they come home and say, Sarah's mom said blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
it's like the best thing ever. And you're like,
right. I just told you that.
Exactly. So it's very likely the exact same message, but your words and their words are different and they will resonate with different people. And so I think it's fine to.
That is true. That is so true. And then as a coach, I'm sure that comes into play quite a bit because sometimes they need to hear it from another voice other than yourself. Now, you do editing. Is that part of the coaching, or is there a difference between coaching and editing?
There's a difference in that editing is very much about the words on the page, making sure that it's clear mm-hmm. and technically correct, grammatically mm-hmm. correct, making sure that the structure is sound. And those are things that an editor might do even without knowing the writer. Some freelance editors, it has happened to me. I'll get a manuscript and I edit it and I never have contact with the person who has written it. And that doesn't, it's a valuable job and definitely improves the manuscript. Coaching is an added element of really developing that idea, having that opportunity to dialogue with the writer and pointing out places where they could go deeper, or there is perhaps knowledge bias. You assume that your audience knows something and make a jump from one idea to the next. So a coach helps with that. A coach can help with the full publishing process, whether someone decides to go with self-publishing, hybrid publishing, traditional publishing. It's a broader service. And there's also that psychological support. The cheerleader, somebody who believes in your idea as much as you do, and holding space for them when those doubts come up, being there to say no. It's completely normal to have these doubts. It's completely normal to hate your book at some point. And really, support them and help them through that process.
So do you help them with publishing?
I do in the process of publishing. Mm-hmm. So whether that means presenting them, explaining what the options are, being in, a broad sense, self-publishing, hybrid publishing, or traditional publishing. People who are looking to self-publish, I work with them to have a publish-ready manuscript, and then, have them then work with a self-publisher who does the practical part of it, of the ISBN, the distribution, the printing, the ebook version, and so forth. With hybrid publishers and traditional publishers, mm-hmm. there's typically the need for a query letter and a book proposal. And I work with writers to prepare those documents, which can be quite extensive. A book proposal is essentially a business plan for your book. So it has audience analysis, a marketing plan, sample chapters, comp titles. And then the other piece of that is, especially for traditional publishing, identifying agents and pitching to agents to look for representation, to then get it out to publishers to essentially buy it.
Great deal. You really do a lot. So let me ask you, I'm sure you have a process as to how you work with people, but what is if someone were to come to you, what's the first thing you would do as far as helping them as far as a coach, from a coaching standpoint?
The first thing I typically do, so I have a book coach certificate from Author Accelerator, and they certify book coaches in fiction and the nonfiction. And we use a tool called a blueprint for a book. Okay. And that tool is a questionnaire. There's a mini blueprint. So if someone's just starting out and wants to test the waters, they can do, it's a 1-page mini blueprint, or there's the longer blueprint. Mm-hmm. And they are questions like we've been talking about. Why do you want to write your book? Who is your book for? How will you reach them? What kind of platform do you have? Because platform is important today for any kind of audience reach. And from there, I give them initial feedback on their answers, and we begin having coaching calls and deadlines to develop that based on the direction they want to take. If they know right from the beginning, I'm going to self-publish, we'll concentrate more on getting a solid structure for the book and begin writing the chapters. If they are looking to go for hybrid or traditional, we'll work first more on the book proposal, which still means developing a structure and sample chapters, but you start pitching the idea before finishing the entire manuscript.
So what would you say if someone were to come to you and say, what would you, as my average length of time from start to finish working with you?
That's a good question. I would say, of course, it depends if they've already tried to write a book on their own. They're like, I've got 50,000 words and here it is. And chances are it needs to be reworked, but okay.
Right.
There, maybe they can work through it in about 6 months, but I think minimum is probably 10 to 12 months from the time that you are developing the idea, getting through and beginning to pitch. I did in this last spring work on a manuscript incubator where we developed book proposals with writers who were starting from zero in 10 weeks. Okay. And it was tough. It was tough for them because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
So one of the questions I ask my clients from the beginning is, how long have you been thinking about your book idea? Because if they've been thinking about it for a while, they've actually done mentally a lot of the work that needs to get on the page. Mm-hmm. And so they may move through a little more quickly. People who maybe a month ago, someone said, you should write a book. Yeah. I've had this happen. People come to me and they're like, my mastermind leader says I should write a book. Okay. And great. And they're very dedicated and earnest in their work. but it takes a while to figure out, well, what's your book going to be about? And it changes. And so it's an iterative process. I think for an entrepreneur who is used to developing products or services, trying to do launches, doing market research, the process is very similar, and it is iterative.
Okay, so guys, I want to finish this conversation with Barbara because I'm definitely intrigued. I'm sure you are too. But we got to take a break here. So what we're going to do is take a break here on the Media Boss Podcast. Stick and stay. We'll be right back with more of Barbara Boyd on the Media Boss Podcast. How are you going to learn everything you need to know about starting a podcast? Well, at the Create Your Podcast Weekend, we put it all in 2 days and help you get your podcast going by next week. That's right, by next week. All you have to do is come to the Create Your Podcast Weekend and let us show you how to get your podcast up and running. We will show you how to attract listeners. We will show you how to get people to pay you for your products and services. What products and services? The products and services we show you how to create, all at the Create Your Podcast Weekend. All you have to do is go to createyourpodcastweekend.com and get registered today. And we have special bonuses. Some of you will even get us to give you the equipment to start your podcast. That's right. We're going to give some of you the podcasting equipment to get started. Go to createyourpodcastweekend.com. That's createyourpodcastweekend.com and get started on your podcast by next week. Starting a podcast can be a daunting task. There's a lot that goes into it, and you're probably wondering if you're able to handle it. Well, why don't you just take 2 days and let us teach you how to do it at the Create Your Podcast Weekend. That's right. We're going to show you all the aspects of how to start your podcast, how to keep your podcast going, how to attract listeners, and how to make money with your podcast. CreateYourPodcastWeekend.com. Get registered right now. Do you have a podcast? Would you like to have it heard by more and more people? Well, Pantheon is the way to go. Unlock the right mindset and tactics with our program. Create momentum with repurposed content. Get paid to build your business. And with Pantheon, we'll even show you how to have a team around you that gives you a community of encouragement. Check out Pantheon today.
You and me together, we could be anything.
Hey guys, I want to tell you a little bit about Pantheon. Man, let me tell you, the Media Boss Podcast is so successful right now, partly because of the work that we put in with our new partner, Pantheon. They have helped us to grow our listenership. Our downloads for our podcast have increased substantially over just the last 4 to 6 months because of our partnership with Pantheon. Let me tell you, they have made it so that we can do our work in creating great content for you guys while they help us to grow. They work tirelessly behind the scenes, making it so people are more interested in what we're putting out as far as the podcast. They put systems in place. They do training. They show us how to attract more people, and they're making it happen for us. Look, if you guys want to learn more about how to do that for yourselves or for your podcast, I suggest that you get together with the people at Pantheon. I'll set up a meeting myself with them so you can do that. Connect with me, and let's find out how you can get going with Pantheon yourself for you and your podcast. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Media Boss Podcast. I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews, and we are finishing up this great conversation I'm having with Barbara Boyd. Man, she is the ultimate book coach. I'm learning so much from her today, and I hope you guys are too. Now, Barbara, I want to flip the subject just a little bit. I need to ask you, how did you get to Italy?
So I talked a little bit earlier that I was working in publishing, in magazine publishing, and I was working in marketing, and then for a while I was the sales and marketing director for a graphic design firm. And at a certain point, I got kind of burned out on just trying to sell people things that they didn't really need. And, marketing, this was in the late 90s. Marketing was different than it is today, 20 years later.
Yeah.
And so I had been one of those people who just worked hard, pushed up my shirt sleeves, and had not gone to college after high school. So I decided to just leave my job completely and become a student. And I decided to study Italian literature.
Okay.
Okay. And I came to, part of the program was studying as an exchange student here in Italy, and in a very cliche way.
Wow, I like that.
I met my husband, and here I am.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. Well, congratulations to that too.
Thank you.
So Barbara, before I let you go, I want to ask you, is there something that you're working on that you'd like the audience to support you on?
So I have a couple exciting things going on. One is that with two other book coach colleagues, we are planning a memoir writing retreat for September 2023 that will take place in Maine. And it involves pre-retreat coaching, in-person coaching, and then post-retreat coaching. And so it combines that individual one-on-one coaching part, the group atmosphere, which is fantastic for writing because you get to talk things through, and usually the things that you're struggling with, other people are too, and getting that group support. Yeah. And then also having the one-on-one support. And we look at it as a gift someone can give to themselves to dedicate that time to a project. And whether that's a finished manuscript that needs to be revised or someone who is just starting, we will work with both of them. So that's the thing that I'm really excited about. And the other is, ongoing building my business of, increasing the number of one-on-one coaching clients that I take on. So those are the things that I have, and people can read about them and learn more about me on my website.
And your website?
My website is barbarajboyd.com.
All right, barbarajboyd.com. Guys, make sure you are supporting Barbara. Barbara, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Media Boss Podcast.
Thank you, Barrett. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. No problem. Hey, guys, guess what? I have something for you, especially for you first timers. I want to make sure that we can help you get paid with what you're doing. A lot of people I talk to right now are not getting paying clients. So I want to help you do that. So what you do is go to www.5waystoPayingClients.com. 5waystoPayingClients.com. It is my gift to you. It's a complimentary training I put together to help you to get more paying clients. Well, guess what we're going to do right now, guys? We're going to take another break, and we'll be right back and show you guys how we get out of here on the Media Boss Podcast. So stay right where you are. We'll be right back. Let's face it, you've been talking about starting a podcast for quite some time, but you haven't started yet. Why is that? Could it be that you just don't have the time because your day-to-day keeps you so busy? Or could it be that you don't want to learn all the technical aspects that go into putting together a quality podcast? Well, at Media Boss Club, we take care of that for you. How would you like to have a done-for-you experience? That's right. At Media Boss Club, we build your podcast for you. We will edit your podcast. We will put in the music for you. We even put in commercial breaks that you can put your advertisers in. We will take care of all of the uploading to the great podcast platforms that are out there. That's right. We do everything. All you have to do is just right now go to MediaBossClub.com. That's MediaBossClub.com, and let us handle the heavy lifting for you. It's time to be a boss, a media boss. If you're in business for yourself, it's time that you get your message out, and podcasting is the best way to do it. Let us create a done-for-you podcast experience with Media Boss Club. All you have to do is go to MediaBossClub.com, and we'll create a done-for-you podcast right now. That's MediaBossClub.com. Do you have a podcast? Would you like to have it heard by more and more people? Well, Pantheon is the way to go. Unlock the right mindset and tactics with our program. Create momentum with repurposed content. Get paid to build your business. And with Pantheon, we'll even show you how to have a team around you that gives you a community of encouragement. Check out Pantheon today.
You and me together, we could be anything.
Hey everybody, the Media Boss Podcast has been brought to you by our partners, Pantheon and Convert and Flow. Make sure you get with us so you can find out more about how you can help your business run smoothly with Pantheon and Convert and Flow. All right, guys, welcome back to the Media Boss Podcast. I told you my guest was great today. Barbara Boyd was fantastic, and I hope you guys learned a lot, and I hope you're ready to write a book. Contact her, man. Get your book going. Well, guess what? I want to have you guys make sure you're supporting what we do here at the Media Boss Podcast as well. So go to patreon.com/Media Boss Podcast and support us. Make sure you're supporting us, and we have some nice perks for you just for helping support the Media Boss Podcast. Also, I just gave you guys a complimentary training, 5 Ways to Paying Clients. Make sure you're doing that. Go to 5waystoPayingClients.com and get that free training from me to you. Also, now if you're really serious, if you're really serious about becoming a media boss and having your media shown everywhere, you need to take the challenge. What challenge? The Make Money from Media Challenge. It's coming up soon. Make sure you register at MakeMoneyFromMediaChallenge.com. Get there, you'll learn in 5 days some ways you can make money using all forms of media. If you're interested in starting your own podcast, we can help you with that. Text the word podcast to 929-244-4323. Text podcast to 929-244-4323. And last but not least, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're sharing the Media Boss Podcast with everybody. Leave us a great rating. Leave us a fantastic review. And I got a free gift for those of you who do that. So make sure you do that and screenshot me. Let me know you're doing that. Send it to the Media Boss Club on Facebook, and we'll know that you did that as well. Okay? So guys, how do we get out of here in the Media Boss Podcast? Oh, those of you who know. And we're going to do it right now. We're going to count down from 3. 3, 2, 1. Media Boss out.